Here we go. It is one of my favorite times of the week, visiting with Jacob Warren, Tennessee tight end. It's brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden, the Vol Report. Please hit that like button so we can extend this show to more people out there and turn your notifications on so you know when it comes on. Because now we're in bowl season and it's all crazy. Schedule's out the door. Jacob, though, it's probably nice to get a little bit of a break because you guys had quite the gauntlet through the season.
Yeah, man, it's nice. It's nice to be able to, we practice in the morning, so it's nice to be able to kind of, sleep in and relax and, maybe go sit down and a nice breakfast or something somewhere and just be able to have a little bit of time in the mornings to ourselves before we go and get our work in for the day. But yeah, it's been great, kind of relax and just kind of get our minds ready to go down to Miami in the warm weather.
Well, I'm actually ahead of you, so you will enjoy it. I can promise you that.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm sure.
let me ask you this because there's been some kind of crazy changes this week, and you and I mentioned opt outs, and that was a
Mm-hmm.
possibility. And uh, one that I want to talk about first because I completely understand it with an ankle injury is Cedric Tillman. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on his decision to opt out of the game, and that's one that really, from a business standpoint, I know some fans may not like it, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah. That's one of those that you have to look out for yourself, and you have to understand that there's decisions that are made strictly based on what's best for an individual. And it's, I mean, if you sit back and you really look at it, you know as any, I'm not gonna say normal person, but as many logical people would, you would be like, okay, that makes sense. Like I get it, and that's probably what's best for him. And like obviously he makes that decision, and it's been bugging him all year, and it's unfortunate that it turned out the way it did. But yeah, got to support him through it all.
How tough was that for him as you look back over the season, Jacob? Because it feels like
Hmm.
the games that he tried to get in, the Georgia game, the South Carolina game, it almost seemed like from the outside looking in, it was trying to get him involved, and maybe that affected the chemistry. I don't know how his ankle was doing. How challenging do you think the season was for him?
Man, I can't imagine, right? Like we don't talk super, deep or close or whatever, but we obviously I see him every day and I say what's up and we chat a little bit. But he's a guy that is naturally pretty quiet and naturally pretty kind of out of the way and low key, and so nothing really is different about his demeanor. But I'm sure it's been hard for him mentally and just emotionally, kind of going through this whenever he had such high expectations for himself, performance wise, and just kind of where he wanted to be. And it's just unfortunate that he didn't necessarily get to do that. He's obviously still very successful and will be very successful, but just kind of this last chapter, the end of this chapter, I guess, did not quite end how he probably wanted to. So I'm sure it's tough.
Well, still, he's going to have a fantastic career, as you mentioned, uber talented. So we wish him the best. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't subscribed. Do so. Our weekly visits with Jacob are brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Bassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland, Tennessee. Industrial mowers, commercial mowers. They've also got the residential. So if you're in Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, I don't care. Make the drive, save thousands. That's where you need to be. Bassey Lawn and Garden. And then I think Jalin Hyatt got people a little bit excited because he hired an NIL marketing group. And I think some people thought that group might represent him for another year at Tennessee. That
Hmm.
group could work with him on any level. And then he does decide to go ahead and go to the NFL. I know you know Jalin well. What are your thoughts on his decision to move on after the season he's had? Who can blame you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm again same boat. It's obviously that's something that he wouldn't have decided to do without a lot of consideration and a lot of advice and feedback. And yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers and you look at what he was able to do, and I mean, the guy won the Blitnikoff, and that's the best receiver in the nation, and you can't argue with that, and you can't blame him for wanting to go and you know take that next step and live out his dream. And so again, the same situation. It stinks, but obviously the kids thought about it, and he's talked to his family and all the people that he trusts, and they came to the decision that this was the best thing for him. And so we have to support him in that, and hope that he He's still around. They're still around. They still support and they still are hanging out with us and talking with us and just being normal, right? Because that's what it is. We're just living our lives and they made the decisions for themselves, so we support them in every way.
Obviously, with Cedric, you guys because of the ankle injury,
Hmm.
unfortunately, you know how to play without him. Jalin was, needless to say, pretty impactful this year.
Yeah,
So, how do you make the adjustment over the course of a month to get used to playing, in particular without Jalen, but two guys that were major cogs before the season started?
for sure. Yeah. Obviously, this happens all over the country. Is and it happens every year where the star players or whatever end up opting out and it's this big deal about whether the team is going to be the same or the offense is going to be the same or how are they going to be successful and I know that's not what you're saying I think either but I don't know we've got guys that have been doing this all year, have been practicing all year, have gotten a lot of significant reps. I mean, you look at Squirrel and the plays that he's able to make, and you look at Ramel Keaton and the way he stepped up when said kind of was going through his stuff, and you're going to see guys continue to kind of emerge and step into those roles in this game in particular, and we don't know who it'll be, and hopefully maybe that'll drive a little bit of attention down in the middle with the tight ends, and we'll be able to make some plays and kind of do our thing. But yeah, it's next man up mentality the same way it would be if someone were to be injured or whatever. So.
Well, let me ask you about Ramel. Tell me something I don't know about Ramel because he has been there at the ready
Hmm.
whenever Cedric was out and has made a couple of just
Phenomenal
incredible
catches.
plays. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just tell me more about Ramel that maybe something I don't know.
Well, I don't even really know that much about Ramel because I do know this is that he's probably the quietest person in the building. It's a story today. When we work out, we do, Vols jacks is what we call it. So you do a jumper jack and you yell VOLS and then Vols, and then we all break it down. And everybody made him do it today for some reason. I don't know, but everyone made him do it today. And of course, he was real shy about it, real nervous, whatever. And then he opens up and starts yelling, and everybody's all excited because like we've never heard the guy yell before. And so he's kind of that guy. He's that guy that is super quiet, but also is man always the last one in the building. Getting extra jugs, catching more balls or working at the top of his routes. And we watch him make plays like that, like the one big diving play that he makes down the field, and everyone's like, wow, what an amazing catch. Like, where'd this guy come from? And like, he's been practicing, maybe not that specific where he dives and, jumps out, maybe not that catch, but he's been practicing catching that ball for months now, right? And put so many reps into it. And so, truly one of the harder working guys and also probably the quietest guy in our building. So, I guess that's a little bit about him that I know of.
Right. He's that quiet all the time. Now, I think Squirrel's probably the guy, correct me if I'm wrong, that would receive the most playing time with Jalen out. So Squirrel White is kind of a fan favorite, partly because of his name and his
Yeah.
size. He's a little bit
Hmm.
smaller. But what can you tell me about Squirrel that maybe I don't know?
Yeah. I guess a similar thing, but Squirrel is very much the opposite, I guess, of Ramel. Squirrel's very much, he's respectful and he's, I guess, kind of somewhat nervous or whatever when he first got here, but he opened up out of his shell pretty quick and gets along with pretty much everybody and I don't know, he's funny, he's cool. Like I don't know, he's Squirrel, man. He's got such a big personality for such I don't want to be mean, but for such a small guy, right? Like he's this big personality, and he truly like feels really comfortable in himself and really confident. I think he's going to be very successful for this team in this bowl game and also years to come.
Okay, the smallest guy on my block when I was a high schooler, he
Hmm.
talked the most trash.
Yeah,
Squirrel is one of the smaller guys. How is he a trash talking?
Squirrel's not that guy. At least not from
Okay,
what I've seen. Yeah, he's not that guy. he'll
but
he'll run he'll run right by you and score a touchdown, but he's not. I don't think he's going to turn around and say nothing to you. But he might. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe maybe as he gets older, he might grow into that. But we'll see.
what's his next step? Because I think that when you look back at Bayless Jones and what he did, that was just one off season work with Josh Heupel. Yeah, Jalen, who talked about he didn't utilize his first off season the best way and did the second. Here's Squirrel White that could have 2 or 3 years to blossom in this offense. How special
Hmm.
can he be at that slot
Yeah,
position?
yeah, that's the question, man. I mean, it's really all about how much he buys into it and how much he, I guess, commits to being that guy. Obviously, we've had two very, very good slot receivers the past couple of years, in Valus and Jalin, and I think he knows he's got some big shoes to fill. And but I think he's ready, and I think he's talented enough, and it's just be a matter of him recognizing and him, stepping up to the challenge and going to make the best of it.
How difficult is it to change things up with Alex Golesh not in the mix? He got a great job opportunity, and good for
Yeah.
him. How do you alter the way things work as an offense pragmatically?
Yeah, I think the thing right now is things aren't changing much, man. Like it's truly, we're going to play the same style of ball. We're going to, you know, maybe not run the exact same plays, right? Like we'll change up, we'll game plan the same way we game planned before, but someone else is going to be calling the plays. I don't know who, obviously. Someone else is going to be like the leader, the voice of that offense, and I think it's kind of on us as players to, or at least as the older guys, to kind of you know lead it and keep it going and just kind of I guess be that missing piece, right, of leadership that we had in Golish, and with all the questions and all the uncertainty as to what's going on and who's going to be there, just kind of sticking together and just continuing to play our brand of football, and that's just playing smart and playing fast and scoring a lot of points.
So, to give a little background, if this is the first time you've seen the Ball Report with Jacob Warren, first of all, you need to hit that like button and notifications button because it's every week and it's fantastic. Love talking to Jacob. The Ball Report brought to you by Bassy Lawn and Garden. So, to give people a little bit of background that may not know your story, your
Hmm.
dad and uncle both played at Tennessee. You had interest from other schools, but
Correct.
if I'm encapsulating this correctly, Tennessee was kind of always your school, so to speak, right?
Yeah. Correct.
So I'm curious now. You probably came into that at the same time, knowing that it was a rebuild. So
Yeah.
when you look at it now, imagine you're an in-state prospect that's
Hmm.
in Knoxville or Chattanooga, Nashville, wherever, and Tennessee just had one out of Smyrna that committed. I'm curious how different a prospect nowadays might look at Tennessee after what you guys have done this year.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think this program has been, storied for winning games and is known for winning games. But I think a lot of younger people, especially even myself, like whenever I was being recruited, doesn't you don't know that, right? You don't understand the tradition. You don't understand that Tennessee, like I think again is now, but used to be back in the day, like that was the school, right? Like that was where everybody, I mean, wanted to be, and like that power T had a lot of respect and a lot of I guess respect is the right word. And so I think that now that we've all kind of, I guess, put it back on the map and started to become a nationally recognized team. um, it gives a lot of kids in Tennessee the opportunity to do something special and to come here and to have pride in that power T, and to whereas before they may have been not embarrassed, but maybe written it off because oh, well, they're no good. It doesn't matter if they're my hometown team or whatever. Like, I don't want to be there, right? So now it just adds, more incentive for these guys to stay home and these guys to represent their state and represent their town. For me, I guess, yeah, and have a little bit more pride and continue this tradition that we have of being successful and just being a good group of men, but also really good football players at the same time.
It kind of feels like before you would go to Tennessee out of pride. Now you can go to Tennessee if you're an in-state player out of pride and compete for a
Yeah.
championship. Where it feels like when you made your decision, you don't know if you're really going to compete for a championship. You guys did, but you didn't really know that. That to me is a really strong selling point.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if you have one, right, like it was enough for me to commit here just because this is where I wanted to be, and I knew what this place meant to me and to my family, and knew the opportunities that it would bring me, beyond football, just because this brand, goes with you, right? Long after I will be playing here, people will hopefully at least remember, what I did here and what the teams that I was on did here, and open up some opportunities down the road. So I think that's something a lot of kids maybe don't think about whenever they're getting recruited, but the longer you're here, the more you realize how impactful this place is and how much pull this place has, in this area.
Wait, you say hope, and I'm not waxing poetic here.
Yeah,
This team is never going to be forgotten.
right. And which
I
is
mean,
crazy, but yeah, no, I get it.
I
It's hard
mean,
to see. It's hard to see now, but
I'm not
um,
speaking in hyperbole. I'm not just throwing stuff out there, but what you guys
yeah,
did is never going to be forgotten. Is that sunk in since you've had a couple of weeks?
yeah. No, I mean that's just what we're doing, man. It's I don't know. It feels weird because obviously, like, and we've talked about this. You're not in the football. You're not in the playoffs. You're not going to get a chance to win the national championship. But I think just the way that we did it, and obviously you got to go finish the season. And I think even with the finish in a win in a bowl game would be just icing on the cake. But yeah, this team will be remembered, and the people that had an impact on this team will be remembered, and that's special. And I'm excited for that. The day comes when I'm 45 and got kids, and someone comes up to me and is like, "Oh man, I remember it back in 2022." Whenever, yeah, that's gonna be crazy, man. So we'll see.
It is going to happen. Maybe I'll be there
Yeah.
to see it. We'll see. Joe Milton, has he taken over the reins? You feel like he's comfortable now because it was kind of a quick turnaround of the Vanderbilt game, but now all of a sudden he is the starter and he has every opportunity to grab this position for the foreseeable future. What do you think
Yeah.
of him in these couple of weeks since the regular season ended?
Yeah, man. Joe's still the same dude, man. He, like I said, and I would have said this before. He took that starting job. Great, great energy, great presence, and always is easy to be around him just because of the way that he attacks every day. And I think now that he's almost kind of been forced to, he's felt much more comfortable being that guy in the middle of the huddle, being that guy that something's going on, just kind of encouraging everybody and say, hey, like let's lock in, like let's focus here for this last couple of periods, whatever it may be. So kind of seeing him take that step that I knew he was ready to make, but just something that the Hendon was doing quite simply was Hendon was doing before, and just seeing him and how he's, I guess, learned from Hendon in that way, but just being the guy that everybody looks to whenever we need some words, whatever it is. So I think he's done a good job. I think he's ready to, I guess, like you said, take the reins. I guess he's ready to do it. So.
All right. So you said possibly the receivers that are opting out could open things up for the tight end. So I got you down a buck 25, 3 touchdowns. Does that work for you?
3 touchdowns will work. Yeah, I was thinking 4, but I think 3 will be all right.
All right.
No, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. It should be good.
Good deal. He's Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker. Hit that like button if you enjoy the conversation so we can bring this weekly podcast to more and more viewers, and go to hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications button. We love it. The Ball Report is brought to you by Fassy Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. He's Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.